Good morning, YouTube. Old Rusty here again today. For another discussion on trees. Nether trees specifically, the huge fungi, and why I think this is the best tree farm in the game. Not shroom lights. We're not, I'm kind of done with that. Today I want to talk about the stems, because the stems are really good. You can use them in just about any single crafting recipe as overworld trees. The only thing you can't do with them is you can't make boats. You can't sit here and turn these into charcoal. They are in fact fireproof, which is both a good and a bad thing. If you're looking to make charcoal, good luck, never gonna burn. This is just gonna sit there and never be consumed, unlike these pistons and everything else. The only way you can use this log for fuel is if you go and craft it in the sticks. I personally, my favorite color is this cyan. I love it. The same will work for both the crimson fungus and the warped fungus, the huge nether trees, fungi. They are fireproof and really colorful, and you can make just about anything else out of them. And when you're not dealing with complicated shroomlight shenanigans at world height, just in general, this is, I think, probably a really great source of wood, often overlooked because people look at spruce or birch. Why you like birch? I don't know. Now, when you're sitting there talking about decorative colors, these are unique, but maybe you prefer cherry blossoms or anything else. Maybe what you're looking for is just a wood farm to consume for whatever you're building with. For the components, not decorative builds, but you know, you want to bake a bunch of sticks, you want to make a bunch of pistons, and I think this has an argument for being the simplest. Now, caveat to all of this. For you to get this farm, you're going to have to go to the Nether and get warped or crimson nylium. And you can't just pick it up with a pickaxe. You got to use silk touch. But if you're patient and a little daredevilish, you can actually go to a warped forest and wait for the Enderman to pick one of these up. Kill it, and then you'll have one. That's not bad. Now, once you set it down, you can't move it. So that's not good. But if you decide where you're going to have your farm and you put down netherrack, well, you can bone meal this to get more. So you don't actually need silk touch to set up a nether tree farm. It's easier. If you happen to want crimson, you're going to have to go find an overlap where the Enderman will actually spawn so they can grab this thing and then kill one while it's holding it. It's a lot easier to get warp nylium if you don't have silk touch. But I digress. Why would I sit here and say this farm is really good for, in general, to make a lot of wood? Well, because I don't think you can get simpler than this. First off, nether trees, they just don't care. Every other tree in the game is going to sit there and have certain conditions. If I put a solid block over any sapling, it is never going to grow. Here, I'll show you. Let's get some dirt, and let's just pick any sapling. Let's go with acacia, just for fun. So if I sit here and I put any solid block over any sapling, it's never going to grow. Now, each sapling has its own requirements as far as how close it can be. Are there leaves overhead? If you have cherry and there's cherry leaves overhead, it won't grow at all. That's annoying. Anything else, if you have any kind of solid block, there's a few exceptions. If I put dirt over acacia, that'll grow. I'm not really sure why, but there you go. But here's the thing. Nether trees, they don't care. Look. Oh, and there you go. It just won't replace those blocks, but this tree just doesn't care. It's this way so that they would actually generate in the nether all over the place. And it's a good mechanic to work with, because what that means is you can stick everything directly up against this thing without having to worry about any kind of double piston extenders or anything else, and it's going to make a lot. And they can grow up to 24 tall. I always take it to 12. 12 is a really good compromise here. 12 up from your planting. And most of that is going to sit there and be wood. And you'll get these occasional little patches of the wart blocks, whether it's warped or crimson wart. And that's going to fill out. And then as you run this farm, you're going to get this pattern emerging of just this. That's where I just broke blocks. Ignore that. Of concentrated on up high here, slowly teetering off as you work your way down, because this is about where the trees like to grow for you get most of them. But you'll get a lot coming out of this. And you'll end up with a 12 by 12 by 12 cube-ish that when you're done harvesting, it will probably give you about almost an entire chest full. Now you might be thinking, well, how long does that take? Well, first off, to move these block streams, that bottom block is always going to grow because we're just harvesting a single column. Which means your redstone on all of this consists of nothing more than a torch. Redstone torch to pass the signal right on up, elevator it up, and that's it. Same as over here. The only thing extra is once you, besides running it up, you slap a repeater down on each one of these, and this is going to cube it all up. Of course, I am using Guy's Nether rack regeneration system that I've been using in all of my farms. But all you need to time this thing is a comparator clock, a chest to toss some bone meal into that dispenser, and then of course make buttons so it doesn't grow all over the place. And just look how fast this is. Every single time I plant a stem, I'm getting anywhere between 4 and 12 logs. The price is 1 or 2 bone meal. And you could speed this up by working in more dispensers, but why bother? This is just a simple little build if you want a tree setup that's going to give you warp to crimson nylute. And trust me, this is way faster than any other tree you're going to get. Unless you go build some monster 2x2 spruce tree, which, don't get me wrong, spruce is pretty good. But look how much I just filled in right there. But wait, what if I don't want crimson? What if I don't want warped, Rusty? I want crimson. Well, assuming that you have the blocks available, in this case I'd say Silk Touch is good. Silk Touch is easy to get anyway, but all you have to do is replace it. Replace this one, and I just accidentally planted a crimson one anyway. And then you're good. That's it. Let's go get one. So then I'll take my crimson fungus. Same thing. Look at that. And you can even see the same pattern here. And the tree doesn't care, and it's just going to mix it all up. When you're sitting here collecting all of this, obviously, this wart block, this kind of slows things down a little bit. So, you know what you do? You get an axe, and you get a hoe. I'm not saying you need netherite for this. Just use iron. Or even stone if that's where you're at. Well, honestly, if you have this, you're not at stone. So you're probably at least iron. Just so run through, chop it up. Oh, when you get that occasional wart block, break it with a hoe. And you can either keep the wart blocks, or if you want, compost them back and then go dump in for some more bone meal. This isn't my farm design. Silent and Guy both kind of pioneered this stuff as far as I can find on YouTube back in the day for Bedrock. Since they changed the things, I haven't actually seen an updated Nether farm, besides people wanting to take advantage of making this player list, which you can, not with this. This is meant to be simple. I broke that. That's fine. Everything is fine. But it's quick. It's fast. The redstone is not complicated at all. You're just glassing up some elevators. Make sure you have this top one right here so this doesn't get cut off with wart growth. And this thing's just going to grow into this hideous thing. And if you ever decide, well, I want a bunch of wart blocks, well, you can also just go and mine all this up here and tear it back down. Don't worry, it's going to generate right back again. But I don't recommend trying to harvest it because it's still, you're going to get these giant trees only maybe once out of every 12 to 20 times you grow a tree. It's not worth the pistons. But if you decide, well, I need a bunch of wart blocks for a project, or you just want to go clear some out, maybe collect a couple of shroom lights out of this. This isn't going to give you a bunch of shroom lights, but it'll make some as they just kind of filter in here. But we're not harvesting those spots. We just want that center stem area. And this is really good. Look at this. Look at how much we've already got here for just a little bit of planting. You can do warped or crimson. Easy setup. Go to the Nether. Oh, I don't have Silk Touch. Go kill an Enderman after he picks one up. And then just be careful where you place it, because you're not going to get to place it twice. So, in that case, I would say, build everything else. Put a piece of netherrack right there, and then put whatever kind of nylium you want right here. And if you're really brave, and you're, well, you know, you don't have Silk Touch, but you want both, technically, you can move this thing with a sticky piston. So if you wanted to make it even easier swap out, there you go. Have a crimson off to one side, have a warp to the other, and then you could just swap them out and just let that thing decay. Break it, put a piece of netherrack down, and you're good. You don't even need Silk Touch for this. Obviously, you'll need to make the fungus. Navy Nexus has a really good farm. But when it comes to just tree farms in general, I recommend huge fungi. They're really good to make a bunch of wood, even if you don't care for either one of these colors, which, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but some people, they still eat golden carrots in the world. So what am I to question someone else's tastes? I am, and I'm judging you. But you don't need this wood to make fences. You can. It's fireproof. But you can also just turn it into sticks and then pistons, or use it for whatever other crafting recipe you have, where you don't end up with the color and the wood type doesn't matter, because it's going to make a lot of it real quick. Because maybe you really like cherry. Well, why would you waste cherry logs that are hard to get making pistons or composters? Use nether trees instead. All the more reason. If you love this block, you want a lot of it anyway, and if you hate it, turn it into the other stuff and save the wood that you love for something else. Just thoughts of the day. Huge fungi from the nether. They're really good for making a lot of wood quick. And you get some wart blocks. And they're way easier to build than other tree farms. So if you're looking to manually chop, I mean, okay, go ahead and do that. But if you're not and you want to automate it some, consider this. Old Rusty out.